Welcome to the Friends of Zane Adams, aka FOZA podcast, bringing awareness of postpartum depression, suicides, and the children who are left behind. We'll be spotlighting positive outcomes from mothers as well as healthcare experts and counselors. Would you know the signs of PPD? Would you know how to help a loved one? Stay tuned. As a community, we can do more to support maternal mental wellness.
Greetings, everyone. This is Paulette Smith with Friends of Zane Adams, aka FOZA Inc. We are a 501c nonprofit dedicated to bringing awareness and resources to support sufferers of postpartum depression. We want to help prevent maternal suicides, and we want to support the children who are left behind. And we strive to stop the stigma, the silence, the suicides, and the suffering that often accompanies maternal mental health issues. Before I begin, I need to say a few words about triggers. This is a safe place. However, we may discuss topics that can be sensitive and may act as a trigger for some members of our audience. The content we discuss serves to provide information for educational and advocacy purposes only. If you're experiencing an emergency, call the National Crisis Hotline. That's 800-273-8255. If you cannot afford consultation, please visit FOZAinc.org and provide us with your contact information. If you're a FOZA follower, then you know we're always publishing information about cases of postpartum depression that, when gone untreated, can escalate and many times can be associated with stress and anxiety. Well, today, we're very grateful and fortunate to have with us the dynamic Brandi Jackson of Brandi Jackson Wellness Center located in East Bay, California. She's taking time from her busy schedule to share information with us here at FOZA and our entire audience on a technique known as EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique. She's going to give us some basics on the how and why EFT can be useful in healing stress, anxiety, and depression. But before I invite her into this broadcast, I have to tell you something. I've learned a ton of information from Brandi just by visiting her website and by speaking with her. So I know you're going to enjoy hearing from her. She officially started her practice, Brandi Jackson Wellness, in 2014. She chose holistic therapy because it was a health recovery system after observing constant and consistent outcomes, not just for her patients, but also for her own health journey. So that means she has personal as well as professional insight. Now, she's been a practicing clinician for 8 years. She's a mom of 2 sons. She earned a bachelor's degree in child and family studies, a master's degree in social work, and she's a licensed clinical social worker for mental health therapy. Her therapy center, as I said, is located in East Bay, California. However, she has a huge online presence and positively valuable advice that she shares all over the world. So, allow me now to say hello.
Hello there, Brandi, and welcome to FOZA. How are you today?
I'm doing really great, thank you. I'm really glad to be here and talk with you about EFT.
Well, we're certainly honored. We just value your time, and we're just grateful that you're here. This is something that I've only learned about from looking at your website and looking at the information that you put out, and I'm totally fascinated by it. So I'm glad that you've taken the time to join us and share with us. You know, you literally have, and you already know this, a library-sized you have a library-sized bunch of information out there, all of it to bring good health and wellness to women around the world. So there's so many topics, and I'm just glad that you're going to talk about the emotional freedom technique with us. So can you just, I'm not going to hold you up anymore, will you just tell the audience all about yourself and your wellness center and some of the benefits you found in the practice of EFT?
Sure. So, let me start by telling you a little bit about myself, and then, I'll talk a little bit about how I guess I work and how I help people more specifically, and then we can jump into EFT. So I'm going to pick those apart a little bit and just introduce myself. So I am Brandi Jackson, and I am a holistic mental health therapist, and I have a little bit over a decade of practice at this point, and I really like to support clients, women primarily, usually who I work with, but to help them look at holistic opportunities for mental health, recovery, and support, also nutritional support and goal-setting support, accountability. And then, of course, there's like the self-care elements to consider too. So I support women to find ways to really be creative, to create time and space for themselves, because it can be so difficult with, everything that most people have to juggle, or most women have to juggle, to have time for self-care or physical movement and fitness. So those are some of the elements of how I help and what I help people with. And, of course, I kind of wanted to, with my practice, Brandi Jackson Wellness, I wanted to essentially create more than one way of being helpful. So I have a Brandi Jackson Wellness YouTube channel. I also have tons, like you said, tons of articles on my blog on the BrandiJacksonWellness.com website. So just different ways to offer support and different tools for the experience of being a woman in this day and time, while also considering what's really going to be helpful to keep us healthy, mind, body, spirit.
Okay. I'm just amazed, like you said, by the information that you so willingly give, and it's always good information. I'm definitely going to have my audience going out there looking at that. Just recently we had a podcast with Rachel Redmond, and she is also a holistic practitioner. She helped us understand. I asked her about moms being timid about approaching their primary physicians with questions about getting a referral from a holistic practitioner. And she kind of explained to us how the two worlds work together and how moms should see that as a complete way of taking care of themselves. Can you just give us a little bit more on having that conversation with your primary physician to make sure that the woman is getting everything that traditional medicine can bring and holistic medicine can bring?
Yeah, for sure. So something that I've noticed in my work is that there's a couple pieces to it. So one thing is, you can definitely use your medical benefits, and some insurance carriers do include holistic services. So it's not something you want to leave on the table. If it's there, that's easy enough to just say, hey, can I work with a nutritionist, or can I work with a holistic therapist, or can I work with a therapist? Because that can also be as simple as locating the therapist who provides holistic therapy versus maybe looking for a holistic therapist directly, if that makes sense, because there's a certain collection of practitioners who are licensed as mental health therapists but round out their education to provide holistic methods. So it could be as easy as, you have a mental health insurance benefit and you want to work with a holistic therapist, but to kind of comb through the folks or the therapists in your network, the practitioners in your network, in order to locate the holistic therapy option, and then, reach out to try and connect or be referred through your primary care provider as well. But yeah, I think it's very powerful to expect when you go into a session with your primary care provider, although, most traditional primary care providers have shorter sessions, and maybe they have a certain amount of time that they're interacting, maybe asking you specific questions, to always bring your pen and paper and have your agenda prepared and ready to go as soon as you walk in the door, because you don't want to leave that you don't want to leave that appointment until your questions and needs are attended, because that's your advantage to have anytime you want it. I don't know if that answers the whole question, but did I catch most of it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I always just touch on that because I speak with a lot of postpartum moms, and that comes across all the time, that they're not getting the whole picture. Their questions are not being answered, and because they're going to their primary physician, and that can be different, of course, in every situation. and they're not really sure what they should have said or how they should have asked. So I'm just glad that you made that perfectly clear, that they might be leaving something on the table. So go ahead, step up and say, I feel like my medicine is working. I like this, what's happening to me here. I'm feeling better, but then later on, I don't have anyone to call, or does my insurance cover this? So I'm just glad that you gave us that. So can you tell us a little bit about a session with you? I know moms that go on and see your videos, they're going to want more of you. So when they do contact you, they do reach out, what can they expect?
Sure, yeah. It's interesting because I've kind of created two styles of sessions. So, like, one is more of a nutrition first model, and then the other is more of like a holistic mental health or wellness coaching combo kind of therapy session. So if it's nutrition first, there's more of an approach where we're looking at what is it you're eating, how's your sleep, how's your hydration, how are you managing stress. So we look at those things first, and then we kind of take more of a closer look at the emotional impact of what's going on in your life, how you're feeling about it, what are the blind spots, what are the opportunities. So the session is kind of nutrition first, where we're looking maybe literally at your food logs, your nutrition logs, like what's going in, how's it going, how's your body responding to it, what time of day are you eating, how's your stress, like what is your response to what you're eating. So that's just like a nutshell of like the nutrition first model for a holistic therapy session, because what we eat usually has such a strong emotional tie to us, more or less, depending on what we're eating. I like to be thorough in that way so we can really figure out what's going on for the person I'm working with, and they can also have that clarity too. And then for the holistic mental health therapy and wellness coaching, I offer both because some of my clients are not in the state of California. So if I work with clients outside of California, then it's technically wellness coaching. And that is something that is probably something to follow back around to in a moment, just because wellness coaching and therapy are different, and it may be good to clarify like the difference there. Yeah. But as far as the holistic therapy session, it's really where we're looking at first emotions, and we're looking at like the highs and lows of the emotions that are coming in. We're looking at the mindset pieces of how we experience our day-to-day life, and if there's advantages or disadvantages, and how to clear out any blocks that need clearing, how to increase or prepare like coping tools that align with the mental health goal or the holistic mental health goal. And from there, we still will be talking about nutrition and hydration and self-care planning too, and movement planning, all that stuff. But it's kind of from the more direct lens of emotions first, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. We really specifically look for and try to help moms who are kind of having a hard time. They're not sleeping. Mm-hmm. They're not eating properly, probably. They might be doing the best they can because some of them are nursing, so they're trying to get the best kind of nutrition they can get, but because they're not sleeping and because they're tired and because they're anxious and stressed, all of that's affecting them. And so it's really the conversation that they're having, like, how can I do this? I'm just so overwhelmed. So when this mom contacts you, do you have something, just something special to tell her to kind of calm her down and get her to understand you're not alone? And we do have ways to answer all of your issues. We do have conversation that we can have about that.
COVID-19 has generated anxiety, doubt, and stress for office workers as well as remote staff members. Businesses and organizations are urgently looking for ways to motivate and encourage their workers. Visit ProfessorWele.com and request his free outline for motivating companies and memberships. Invite Professor Wele to speak with your staff. They will be revitalized with a new vision. Request your free copy today at ProfessorOuele.com.
Really, the conversation that they're having, like, how can I do this? I'm just so overwhelmed. So when this mom contacts you, do you have something, just something special to tell her to kind of calm her down and get her to understand you're not alone? And we do have ways to answer all of your issues. We do have a conversation that we can have about that.
Yeah, it's normal. What you're going through is normal. It is a part of the experience that many people will have to go through. And, you're doing the right thing by just choosing to show up and really try to start feeling something different from here. So I know there can be this great sense of overwhelm and isolation, but this is a normal experience for so many people. So try to trust that if you could just reach out, there's a way forward, because this is not the first time, and there are other people who have had this experience. And so there's a lot of opportunity here at the table, ultimately. Like, from all the other experiences, we get to share that wisdom too. So there's many roads we can take to get the healing part, or the calming, or the peace coming back in.
Wow. You hit it right on the head. You took me right to the place that I like to always be on every podcast, and that is to offer a big thank you for the moms who reach out to us, because, of course, we started FOZA because we lost our dear Christina. She was not communicative, and we didn't know everything that was going on with her. So when a mom reaches out and says she's feeling down or she's feeling low, we're really paying attention to that. And I'm glad that you have total understanding of that, because I know how difficult it can be, especially with a stranger, to reach out to a stranger. But you managed to create a space online that feels welcoming and safe. So I'm hoping that my audience is going to check you out and see, by the time they get to actually speak with you, they will feel like they know you. At least I did. And you have a brightness about you as well. So very calming, very reassuring. And I just have to say that over and over again, because, like I say, I speak to women every day, and many of them just have that kind of loss. And I don't want them to feel as if I'm pushing, but to say, check this out, because I know you'll feel better if you do. Main thing is, if she is well enough, and she hasn't gone to the point of psychosis, she's well enough to know, I want some help. I want to feel better. Yeah. That's what that's the point that we like to get with them. I would like to talk a little bit about the things I read in EFT that you put out, a little bit about what it's about, because there's one particular part of it that I just want to mention to you, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So can you tell us if you feel like EFT is there's something that women can learn about, that they can get into some self-care about?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So EFT can be a wonderful tool to practice from home. It's completely free. It's a resource whenever you want it, and it's one that travels well too. So EFT can be very, very powerful, and I see a lot of power for the postpartum experience as well, because that's such a transitional place in the journey of being a woman and becoming a mom, or becoming a second, third, or however many children mom, because each child equates to a different experience in motherhood ultimately. So once we become a mom, sure, that's a starting place, but each child that becomes a part of your family, that changes the experience. So, each baby is another, like evolution in the mom journey, I guess, so I think it's something that's super amazing to have as like a part of the emotional wellness toolkit, we'll call it, for the experience of motherhood, but just the experience of being a woman and a human who has feelings and emotions that sometimes can get stuck, and maybe they're not always the emotions that we want to have lingering or cycling through our thought process. So I think it can be an amazing tool in that way. And the reason I say this is because in the course of this interview even, you can definitely get the basics down and potentially walk away from this interview with a little bit of a rough sketch of a practice to see directly for yourself, like how easy it can be to implement an emotional freedom technique practice.
Okay. And you have that all laid out on your website so beautifully. The part that really stuck with me was when you were speaking about healing statements.
Mm-hmm.
That part was something that anyone and everyone can do. And I remember distinctly reading that you should come up with your own healing statement. But also, I wanted to remind my audience that if something is working for you, it is easy to share, because I started sharing what I believe are healing statements, just posting online, something that I feel would be a healing statement for some of the groups that I belong to. Or I want to have ready and on hand if I have an individual mom that's reaching out to me. But I found that to be so powerful for myself, even though I'm not postpartum. I found it to be so wonderfully enlightening and just unburdening. So could you tell us a little bit about healing statements? I know we don't have time to go through all the steps, but you have that laid out so well, and I'm going to give people an opportunity to know exactly where to go and get that and to learn more about your book. I got to get that in there too. But just talk to us a little bit about how women can use healing statements.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about that, but I do want to just do if I may, just a brief summary of what is EFT, because I don't think I don't think it did. So I would love to talk about the healing statements, because I think that's one of the most, or it's definitely a top part of the way this works so well. But just in case it's helpful for anyone who's maybe unfamiliar with emotional freedom technique, it's really a practice of being able to tap with your hands, like your fingertips, your meridian points, which are energy sources or centers kind of located throughout your body. And the tapping points that are referenced in the articles that may be made available can clarify that more, but there's some specific ones that are really easy to work with, and I guess it may help for anyone who understands or has seen the chakra kind of images where there's a spot between your eyes, one usually at your throat. There's one, there's different chakra points, and EFT can sometimes mimic those locations, and it can work out really well from there. But as you tap with your fingertips, applying gentle pressure as you're tapping repetitively, you are essentially releasing stagnant negative energy to help bring better balance into your physical body, energetically speaking. And the other part of this EFT or emotional freedom technique is the healing statements that we'll be talking about in just a moment here. And so as you are basically tapping your meridian point, let's just say between your eyebrows is a meridian point. So as you're tapping, you want to add in your healing statement. I think it's really cool that you already have healing statements and are getting the benefit from just defining those in your own words. And, of course, the reason they're so powerful paired with EFT, the tapping component, is because this is what we have to make peace with. So whatever the healing statement happens to be, usually there's an element of this is allowing me to make peace with something, to accept something, and to be at ease with something where I have maybe seen things differently. So the healing statement is amazing because only we know what those things are for ourselves. And so it's really powerful to create your individual healing statement, because then you have access to heal yourself ultimately.
And the belief, because it comes from inside of you, so you don't have to kind of be convinced that it's you. Brandi, girl, the clock is telling me we have to bring this episode to an end. I don't know where the time goes. I'm just amazed. It just seems like it was just, I'm like, am I looking at this right? But that's okay, because you do have so much information. It's not like anyone could lose anything or not get anything, because you are as clear as a bell, and you have everything laid out in an organized type of way. Plus, they can get in contact with you. Can you tell the audience exactly how they can do that? And tell them just a little bit about your book. I don't want to get off the line without talking about your book.
Yeah, so if anyone would like to reach out to me, feel free to contact me at my email, which is contact@brandijacksonwellness.com. Brandi is Brandi with an I, in case that helps. Sometimes people will put Brandi with a Y, and then they can't find me. So you're welcome to reach me by email, or you can go to brandijacksonwellness.com, and there's also the office number, so you can definitely make a call, but I would recommend maybe just sending a text because I'm able to respond a little bit faster that way if you want to be in contact or have questions. So those are some ways to be in touch if you'd like. And, of course, I do offer free wellness consultations, 20 minutes to just talk through anything. And it's not necessarily about working with the person who's calling me. Sometimes it's just to be helpful. So if you have something you've been trying to get some order around, then you can use a wellness consultation just to say, hey, can you just help me work through this process? I've been trying to figure out something. So I'm happy to offer free wellness consultations without expecting that we'll be working together. I'm happy to help. But I also wrote a book, which is really powerful for moms and women. It's called Boundaries and Balance, How to Say No and Still Be Likeable. And I wrote this book because I've had so many client sessions at this point where boundaries have more of an impact than we've realized. And it shows up in so many different ways in how we interact with others, or how we do the work that we do, or how we do the mothering journey that we do. And so I created this book because I wanted to really help clients at a larger scale, or people who are in this experience, be able to see how to organize their interactions with others and feel like they were empowered instead of obligated, because there's a big difference. So I wrote the book.
You've done a great
very
job.
Simple. Oh, thank you. I really like it. I think it's good because there's templates of like, how do I say this? This is how you say that. You know, how do I get people to hear me? This is how you get people to hear you. So the book has everything that has been effective with my clients, but also with me personally, you know, just on the journey as well, because I'm a human like everybody else. So it's helpful to share that. And, you know, all experts have their, I do bunny ears when I say expert, but everybody has an experience that they're coming from, and we can all learn from ourselves and help each other too.
Absolutely. I hope you'll know that you have an open invitation to come back there, because there's so many topics I'd love to hear you expound on. I know that your schedule is busy, but I'm still sending you an open invitation to return. And in the meantime, I'm certain that there are a lot of people, if they're not listening now, they'll be listening, of course, on demand, and they'll be looking to sign up for your newsletter, looking at your YouTube channel. You got to be great. You have over 30,000 subscribers, so you must be saying something good to somebody. And I just wanted to thank you again. Well, FOZA fans, that's it for this episode. I want to thank you on behalf of all of our donors, sponsors, and supporters for tuning in, and I hope you gained some knowledge that will bring you the self-care you so richly deserve. And if you're a family member or a caregiver listening in, we appreciate you. I hope this information will serve as a positive resource. I want you to visit BrandiJacksonWellness.com. That's Brandi with an I, JacksonWellness.com, and see the many ways she has set up her practice at her center to guide you into a better quality of life. Now, FOZA is proud to bring you to this point where we want to stop the stigma, stop the silence, stop the suicide, and the suffering that often accompanies mental health issues. So please visit our website, FOZAinc.org, for an on-demand version of this podcast, and consider this. Every donation goes towards bringing awareness to maternal mental health. This is Paulette Smith signing off in loving memory of Christina LaShawn Thompson-Adams. Bye-bye now.